Welcome everyone to yet another day, the fourth day of 5 of the eYantra Robotics Competition 2020-21. eYantra teaches practical robotics and engineering skills through its competition themes. This year's themes were drawn from the domain of Industry 4.0 problems. Since COVID lockdown made it difficult to distribute hardware, eYantra made COVID-friendly themes through its use of open source simulation technology. We have yet a very interesting control systems based theme here for you. It's called Nirikshak Bot, which is an inspection bot. So this theme is based on a balancing bot concept where we teach you control systems and stuff like that. Idea is inspired from an Industry 4.0 scenario where we have to have an inspection bot, and that inspection bot has to check whether some balls pass a quality test using a variety of tables. We outlined the problem along with an objective formula for grading a finished solution. Students were taught all the skills required through project-based learning in competition mode over a period of 6 months. Teams uploaded a video of their final run along with an account of their experiences in reaching the goal. At the finals, the students faced a viva by an IIT Bombay faculty jury. We are privileged to have with us some very interesting members of jury here. We now highlight the stages of the competition and detail the skills learned at each stage.
The theme is set in an industry manufacturing ball balancing platforms. The goal is to make the balls traverse through the maze on defined paths within a stipulated amount of time in order to determine the quality of the platform manufactured. The platform, which is able to achieve this objective, is termed as OK tested. Now let us look at the learnings of this theme. Through this theme, we tried to teach robotic simulation, image processing, control systems, multiprocessing/threading, path planning, and Python Lua programming to all the participants. The arena consists of 4 ball balancing platforms, T1 to T4, where teams will generate mazes on top of them. Adjacent mazes are connected to each other using conveyors B1 to B4. At the end of the mazes, there are collection boxes CB1 to CB3. This is an example of the maze image which was provided to all the participants for generating mazes on the platforms. 4 such maze images were provided, one for each platform. The digital maze image was printed and captured using a camera to specifically introduce noise in it. The JSON file consists of the color and drop location of each ball. This JSON file and 4 maze images were given to the teams as configuration files. Each platform has a vision sensor on top of it. It is used to determine the location of the ball. This is an example of a 2DOF ball balancing platform. A cross-platform app helped in auto-evaluating the task at the participant's end. In the first page, teams had to enter their team ID and path of the workspace where their codes were present. In the next page, a randomized sequence of the balls was generated. This sequence, when transferred to the simulator, that is CompeliaSim, reordered the position of the balls in the ball dispenser. At the end of the theme run, the value of various parameters were listed for the teams and an encoded text file, gibberish to the participants, was generated, which was submitted on the portal.
The eYantra competition trains participants in complex skills by breaking them down into subtasks which we lead you through systematically. In the Nirikshak Bots theme, we design ball balance platforms with mazes on top such that the multicolored balls negotiate them in a given time, ensuring the platform's quality. However, there are a number of challenges. First of all, we generate the mazes. So using image processing on the input maze images, we construct these mazes on the platforms. We then identify the color of the ball and determine the drop location for a dispensed ball. And then we draw the calculated shortest path, and then we tune the PID controller to traverse the drawn path using feedback via image processing of the ball balancing platform. Then we continue to traverse the path on the table and deposit the ball in the designated box. Finally, we continue to do the same by depositing the remaining balls. We display the evaluation done by the grader app, and then we analyze the performance based on the value of each of the parameters as per the formula in the rulebook shown.
eYantra has forced me slowly into a person who can work efficiently. We learned how to work as a team and collectively give our ideas and solutions to solve a problem.
when you have designed the table has hinges connected at the center of the square table. Why didn't you choose the corners?
We tried with two servos at first, and then we moved to four servos. When we were trying to use the close to the corner one, the torque was not applied properly to the table. Maybe towards the other opposite end, when the ball is not actually close to the L connector, we can see that the actuation is not actually proper and we didn't get the best output. So when we tested with it with the centers, we were able to control it better. The motors which are positioned opposite to each other at the like in the opposite sides will have negative of that angle. So the same PID output will be used, and we are using a negative of that angle so that when this goes up, that simultaneously it will tilt properly.
Do you know there are any principles that you can use in tuning the PD controllers?
First, we gave a value to the proportional. Then we saw the graph. There will be graph in that, and based on what we see on the graph, we increase the D value according to the overshoot. Because the proportional control, just while using that value, we got to overshoot. So in order to reduce the overshoot, we started increasing the D value. That's how we tuned it.
Mage table is a square. It's a perfect world. But what if it is a circle? Because as a child, I have played with this kind of a mage wherein it was a circular box wherein we had to take these steel balls out from one part to another part.
Right.
Where do you put the motors in that particular case? Because you don't have any corners or edges.
We have to divide the entire circle into 3 equal parts and place the motor at the close to the edge of it, or a little bit inside itself. That would be fine, but just the tuning would change according to it. But the important thing is the motor should be placed with equal distance.
But you could have done this also with a square board, right? By having a round rim inside it, where you can hinge it with 3 motors, no? But I'd like to highlight to these guys that, if you just think out of the box, what you've learned actually is how to design and tune control systems to achieve a goal, right? Think of this board that you're trying to balance as maybe you could put a big chair on it, and you can build a flight or a vehicle simulator where you can get the wheel information or terrain information and keep on moving this thing around to kind of simulate the terrain of an area that the vehicle is meant to be going over, right? That's a possibility of what you can do. You can build a flight simulator with this. You can build a gaming platform with this. In fact, I've often fantasized about building a suspension inside a rickshaw. You know how a rickshaw is very uncomfortable? So if you could have a suspended kind of platform, a seat inside, which has servo motors or linear motors at the edges, and you can compensate for all the bumps on the road and give a nice ride.
e-Yantra was not just a competition for us. In the past few months, we really enjoyed working on each task, as each one of them was an opportunity to think, understand, and practice. This was a platform for us in many ways. We learned to work as a team, we learned time management, and e-Yantra helped us improve our problem-solving skills.
Shortest time is very different from shortest path. You can also increase the velocity of the ball so that it moves at twice the speed. Now, how do you decide at what velocity you are going to move? How much you are going to tilt the table? So there are many aspects to this problem.
One of the biggest learning experience that we had is how to be more patient and not to give up at something.
e-Yantra was not like a competition itself. It was completely a self-learning process. The consistency we had all these 6 months, we have never been this consistent in anything before. And also the mindset with which we approach the problem, the confidence with which we approach the problem, it gradually increased from the task 1 to the task 6. And the teamwork, the team effort we took, and complementing team members' work. These things, it was like a very fun learning process.
e-Yantra created a great impact for us. Now we feel really confident to take up any project, any work whatsoever, and we are not afraid of deadlines anymore. We know that we can accomplish any tasks given to us.
I can make the ball follow the same path by at different velocities. Suppose I tilt very less, but tilt X and Y in the right proportion, the ball will follow the same path as when I tilt double the amount, and but I maintain the ratio between X and Y, right?
Yes, sir.
So somehow velocity is not part of the state of the system. that you are modeling. When you calculate error, do you think it makes sense to take velocity into account when you calculate error? So you are using the sledgehammer thresholding as a kind of jugaad to handle that.
Yes.
If you had to take velocity into account, for example, how would that help in your control, and how would you be able to do better? Suppose you had the objective that you want to design a control algorithm which will make the ball roll fast when you're on straight line, but when it approaches the corner, it will automatically make it slow down. How would you design such a controller? I'm trying to manipulate velocity also as a controllable aspect of the system. And the only way you can do it is by taking this into account by modifying the error computation to make it sensitive to the velocity.
So I wonder if the board on which the balls move around is how rigid the board is, because if it's not rigid, it can cause oscillations. If it's rigid, also there might be some oscillations.
So Kavi, this is question to the designers of the simulator. What aspects of rigidity of the board did they put into the model?
The board, as Kavi sir asked, is rigid. It's totally rigid. It cannot bend in nature.
So how did vibrations happen?
So those vibrations are, so it could be because of many reasons. So in Coppelia Sim, when you actually connect different objects, you develop a hierarchy, and it could be because of incorrect hierarchy. That is one reason. Or it could also be because their control system is fluctuating. I mean, it's not able to reach.
It's not stabilizing.
Yes. So that could also be one of the reasons.
What if you take the central universal joint which is there and then replace it with a spring? The whole table is mounted on a spring and not on a joint. What would happen? Because there are many instances wherein it is mounted on a spring. The table is mounted on a spring. For example, the jig, for that matter. So what would happen, or how would you go about changing your control algorithms and systems?
Since you have got four joints on four sides supporting the table, right? Can it take out the whole load, and why do you need the universal joint? Just remove it.
Actually, the top table is of dimensions 1 meter cross 1 meter. So the load would have been really heavy for the servo motors alone to
okay,
balance.
Good. Thank you.
No. But if the rigid board is very light, then you won't have that problem, right?
Yes, sir. That's correct.
We actually had this thought, like, should we use a universal joint or not? Because in Coppelia Sim, as you are saying, if we reduce the mass of the board, the top plate basically, then the universal joint is not required. But at that point of time, we also wanted the students to make their design such that they can build them in reality as well if they are planning to. And not using the universal joint will severely increase the torque on the motors and reduce the stability of the design as well. So we had given them all these objects, all these parts, and they had to assemble it. So there were certain restrictions on the number of parts that they had to use, and that's the reason they used the universal joint.
This is a wonderful Stewart platform system, and I have just put that into chat window here. This Stewart platform is able to supposed to do the 6DOF manipulations, right? The table manipulation, and this funda is used in the rocket stabilization. It's a very challenging control problem, and the problem designers here, I should appreciate that they have brought down the problem to a level where this can be at least being addressed through the PID levels.
This is an interesting point, that if you remove that central pivot, then you can adjust the height of the thing. And this is a nice idea, that you raise the thing to capture the ball and then get on with the whole thing. And plus, it would give you much more mobility.
Yeah, that's right. But at the same time, the degree of freedom will increase and the complexity of the problem increases.
Yes. Generally, what happens in the competition, because of the shortness of the time, in 6 months from beginning to end, right? They have to race through it. They do jugaad, they make the thing work and come to the finals, right? But in the process, especially at this point, when they are faced with the jury and are asked about the deeper understanding of what they've done, I'm sure it sensitizes them to the whole notion of theory, right? What is the theory behind all this? What is the systematic way of making a choice? Rather than, ye chalta hai, to let's just run with this. How to explore the various options? Is there a better way to do it? We often find that teams begin to start thinking about these things here.
Ability to understand the problem and try to, put things together to make things work is important. As you must have seen, this would have required you to model a little bit of mechanical, systems, including different kinds of joints and members. Also deal with a little bit of control theory, little bit of 3D geometry in order to adjust for camera view to, actual physical positions in reality. Then there were some computer science algorithms. So you see, I mean, a problem like this tells you that problems don't come in electrical engineering or computer science or mechanical engineering. Problems are problems. And, one of the banes of our current day education is that we only teach one discipline. Whereas this is your chance to see that, world is more integrated than that. And we should have, much more wider thinking. We should be able to think from first principles and be able to create our own solutions. And that you have been able to do this is commendable. So that is my first point. Second thing I want to do is, most of the solutions have been done. You've been given certain recipes. There is one kind of controller called PID controller, and you are given this simulator which tells you how the table behaves. Actually, there is a lot of theory that goes behind this. So as Professor Kavi Arya said, we learn to do things by jugaad, but that arouses our curiosity as to what goes behind these things. And let me tell you, at some point, jugaad stops working and you have to fall back on the science behind these things. There is a lot of physics that goes into modeling of those rolling of the balls on surfaces. There is the table. There was this talk of, what kind of joints support those tables, whether they are springs, whether tables have rigidities. Also, balls may not be perfectly spherical. Their masses may not be, perfectly fixed. When you manufacture balls, they come with certain amount of uncertainty. So actually, you have to control systems under uncertainty and disturbance. And that is one thing that sometimes doesn't show up in simple simulations. And real world is much tougher than what you simulate. Simulation is your first cut to the problem. So I would like you to appreciate the difference between simulation and real life. When you go to real life, you will have to build what is called a robust controller. And for that, you will need to understand a little bit deeper mathematical aspect of this, the theory behind the kind of systems that you are building. Third thing that I would like to tell you is that, you should have curiosity about, suppose this simulator was not there. And you have to write down mathematical equations which tell you when you tilt the board by this much amount, how will the ball move? There will be simple laws of motion with some geometry thrown in, which will let you move this. But soon you will find that those equations get completely out of hand. You have to discover interesting ways of approximating the problem to solve it. So there is considerable work that is required here. Your mentors have done all this hard work of modeling that physics. But if you actually try to mimic that physics, you'll find this system of, ball balancing table are quite complicated. It's a nonlinear system. This is what I would like to say. And if this problem has aroused your curiosity, try and read some papers around ball balancing tables. You'll find some interesting stuff.
You pointed out the limitations of jugaad. When you reach the limits of jugaad, that's when you start to need to appreciate theory.
It's very gladdening or heartening for me to see that even a second year student who doesn't have much of an exposure to so-called engineering is still enthusiastic to participate and learn from this exercise. And that is very, very important, because the earlier you start, the earlier you raise your curiosity so that you can learn and go far, far higher. When you are sitting with a particular stream or a design or a curriculum, you only get that particular perspective. So, but when you start interacting with other people, other disciplines especially, you get a perspective which is very different from what you are doing or what you look at it from a limited perspective. So that is also very interesting for me, that I could see people who are part of physics to electrical engineering to computer science and control systems who are all part of this particular exercise. This is very good. You should take this as a starting point or an exercise to go out and explore yourself in the world outside with real examples. See, one of the things that I would like to mention here is that if you look at the current scenario of talking about COVID and the pandemic, the most important thing that everybody talks about is the vaccine. Okay. Now, if you look and think about this particular vaccine, these are vials of liquid filled in a glass bottle, which are produced by millions and hundreds of millions in quantity. And if you look at the production plant for that matter, it really is amazing to see these bottles going in a conveyor belt or a chain in an extremely high speed fashion. Now, if you want to take this example of a maize table, and if I want to extend this logic to this particular vaccine vials, which are going around these particular assembly tables, if suppose one vial, for example, because you're talking about a mass, one vial has got 2 ml less, so that the weight is less, it immediately has to be flagged and then moved to a different section of the maze table. So you can look at this particular maze table as a starting point for you to explore various other options. You know, people talk about self-driving cars these days. So if you're going to be sitting in a control station and say, okay, fine, I'm going to let my car navigate through the maze of, for example, the Bombay city traffic, for example. So how am I going to accelerate and decelerate? Where am I going to get a turn? And how am I going to reach my end point? So this can also be extended into a sort of a maze table for that matter. So there are plenty of real life examples that you can think of. And I think you should take this as a starting point, learn the deeper physics and the science behind the whole thing, and start using it in reality.
Very nice observation that this is the starting point. And the great thing is that they've reached a starting point. Typically, the education system doesn't deliver them up to this starting point where they can actually do something cool, right? So we feel that now they're at least at a point where they can do something very real, and then the journey starts.
In design, we always emphasize the importance of learning by doing. So unless you do things, unless you try things, the learnings are very different. And in that, you should never be afraid to try things, because even failures teach you a lot than just the success. So my advice to all the students is test it out. It's very different when things are not theoretical.
What is commendable here is what we have been able to achieve in the pandemic situation as well. From the point of view, from the problem design to reaching out to the students, and from the contestants' perspective, how they formulated the team and how they have achieved it in the e-learning mode.
So that is the story of a theme in the eYantra Robotics Competition EYRC 2020-21, featuring Industry 4.0 themes. We try to fit the highlights of 4 intense hours of finals interaction into a 20-minute video to give you a taste of what goes on in learning with eYantra. We particularly thank our jury members for sharing with us their valuable insights into the thought processes that make for great engineering. It's truly an engineering masterclass. So till next year's competition, God bless and Jai Hind.